I'd like to welcome my guest for this hour, entertainment and criminal defense attorney Mitra Ahouraian. Thank you so much, Mitra, for joining us today. Listen, let's stick with Memphis. These two unrelated crimes, but really horrific stranger crimes. What do I mean by that? The jogger abducted by a stranger, and she, Eliza, was then killed. And this shooter that we just had that press conference about, shot randomly while live streaming, nonetheless, allegedly, 7 people. So what do you make of this in general as a city, as you hear these things are happening?
Well, if I'm a citizen in Memphis, I am terrified because this is not only an increase in crime, but it's an increase of crime by strangers. I could walk out my house and be shot at, or I can be abducted. And I think understandably the citizens of Memphis are concerned. It's a scary thing, and I think what's really coming front and center right now is the truth in sentencing laws, which I'm sure we'll talk about. The frustration that both of these are repeat offenders who did not serve their full sentences. So, could they have been rehabilitated had they? That's a question.
And it's not just that they're repeat offenders, they are habitual violent offenders, convicted of very violent crimes in the past. In fact, the defendant in the case of the jogger abducted was Eliza Fletcher. He actually had been convicted for kidnapping years before and served 20 years. And so it does beg that question. I think that in general, and viewers have expressed, why are they out? How does that happen? Because this shouldn't have happened again. If they were not out, it wouldn't have happened again. But there's that second prong you just mentioned, which is rehabilitation. That's one of the goals, not just punishment deterrent, but to rehabilitate. In your opinion, is rehabilitation of violent offenders even something that can happen?
I think with enough time and remorse, there are certainly people who, it may be in the heat of a crime, do things that they regret. Certainly people who, faced with the consequences of, maybe decades of punishment, decades of being, in a jail and having your rights taken away. I think that certainly it is possible, but there are certain kinds of crimes that are so violent that, you do ask yourself, is this somebody who can be rehabilitated? I think in both of these circumstances, had we given the full opportunity to allow them to serve their entire sentence, it's possible.
And the other similarity between these two crimes is the speed with which law enforcement has jumped in with both feet to investigate and very quickly, within 1 week in each of these cases, arrested a suspect. And from what we're learning, it appears to be based on some pretty solid evidence against the suspect who's accused of these independent crimes. So I think that is something that doesn't always happen, but what a testament to law enforcement that we have defendants in jail for each of these crimes.
That's very impressive. I'm in California, I'm in Los Angeles. Things don't happen as quickly out here, because the police are very overwhelmed. And I think that in these situations, it's very impressive, not only how quickly they reacted, but how quickly they were able to, get someone in jail and create a sense of peace in their community again, that these two people were put away. I think the witnesses, are really important in this case, and then the witnesses really allow you to get to, allow the police to get to important, crucial pieces of evidence like the car or surveillance, and I think the community has really stepped up here as well.
And while we know that, of course, a jury must convict beyond a reasonable doubt unanimously, or in the alternative, a plea or dismissal, the reality is the only way that defendants can be arrested is if there's probable cause of the crime with which they're charged. And so that's where both of these cases stand at this point. You're going to stay